from the New Arts and Media Studios in Milwaukee, I'm Charles Purcell. This is The Log. Well, let's see here. Since last we spoke, spring is here officially. Happy spring equinox. U.S. Supreme Court pissed me off a little bit this week. They declined to hear a case from New Mexico, where the state of New Mexico booted a guy off the ballot for county commissioner because he took part in the January 6, 2021 attack on the Capitol. And as you know, because it's gotten a lot of attention lately, Section 3 of the U.S. Constitution's 14th Amendment disqualifies from office any executive or judicial officer of any state who took an oath to support the Constitution and then engaged in insurrection. And if you go to the exact wording, which I don't have in front of me, I'm just reading from the article, it's something like engaged in or supported, gave comfort. I think that's supported or gave comfort, which the Orange Menace obviously did. If you don't agree that he led the entire thing, which of course he did, you have to at least agree that he gave comfort when he said, "You're very special people, and we love you, and this is what to expect when." So this is what I'm getting at. The Orange Menace was found by this same Supreme Court just a couple of weeks ago. They forced him back onto the Colorado ballot when Colorado decided no, because of the 14th Amendment, Section 3, you're not on the ballot. And it was challenged, and it went all the way up to the state Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court of the United States overturned them, which they don't like to do because I thought they were originalists, and I thought they believed in states' rights and blah, blah, blah. And yet, now, just a couple of weeks later, they just don't even hear the case, which is their way of saying, yeah, you got it. You're fine. It's fine, New Mexico. You can pull this guy off the ballot. I mean, how is that consistent? It's not. It's not consistent is the answer. Well, one is for a federal office and one for a state office. Okay? Well, show me that in the law. Where's that in the law? It's not. It's not in the law. And that's what the Supreme Court is supposed to do. They're not supposed to decide whether laws are good or bad. There are lots of bad laws. They're supposed to decide whether a law is constitutional. And for any state, New Mexico, Colorado, or any other one, to decide on their own volition that a candidate is disqualified because of the 14th Amendment, that's their job. And it's perfectly constitutional. You really got to use the most convoluted pretzel logic to decide it's not, which they did for the Orange Menace. And if you read the opinions, do you ever read Supreme Court opinions? Over the years, I've always read Supreme Court opinions, and in the past, I found them to be really difficult to read because, I mean, this is like the big leagues, right? This is top-level legalese stuff. Just over my head, I usually don't get it. But the last several years, that's changed. Supreme Court decisions now read like New York Times op-eds or letters to the editor to my Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. They tend to go on about the case regarding, like for example, their reasoning in overturning Colorado a couple of weeks ago was, it would create all this chaos. We can't have 50 different states making 50 different decisions about what's on their ballots. And, you may be right about that, but how is that your problem? That's not your job to tell us if things are good or bad. Your job is to tell us whether laws and decisions are constitutional. If you want to write in your opinion, hey, you know what, this law really stinks, we recommend that you go back and look at this. All right, go ahead. Anyway, I wasn't happy with that. Not happy with that. So this poor schmuck from New Mexico can't run. And he shouldn't. He took part in an insurrection. But the Orange Menace orchestrated the whole damn thing. Good God, it makes no sense. It just makes no sense at all. What else? Since last we spoke. Oh, you know what? My favorite, Oprah. If you've listened to the show at all, you know I despise Oprah. I think she's one of the more evil people in the world. Because she takes the most fraught personal issues, like obesity, which she did this week, and this is what we're going to talk about. But, and she gets into this kind of religious stuff and just gets very personal, finds the things that are most important to people, and then she exploits them. And she doesn't know anything about anything. She's not a trained expert on anything, except, she studied journalism in school, and she won a couple of beauty contests and got onto a local TV station. And she brings on, she finds dubious guests. She's responsible for people like Dr. Oz and Dr. Phil, pushing books like The Secret, just this kind of new age BS, the self-appointed guru junk that she just has no business promoting on any kind of real level that benefits anyone. She's just made a really damn good living at it. She's become a billionaire doing it. So I can't stand Oprah Winfrey. I think she's like a character from an Ayn Rand novel. She's just the worst. Well, she's on my mind because this week she had this big special on obesity. And she doesn't make a lot of news lately, thank goodness. She used to be just, in our faces constantly, Daily Show and primetime specials and just Oprah this and Oprah that. But she resurfaced. And this was heavily promoted, got lots of attention. And the reason I was really bugged by it is because in her whole hour-long special, she didn't have anything to say about the real cause of obesity. And I'm here to tell you what that is. It's one thing primarily, but then a secondary thing too. Primarily, it's capitalism. American capitalism, which creates these mega corporations with one goal in mind, to just squeeze every last nickel out of your pocket. And the big food corporations have figured out how to do that, especially over the last several decades. Coincidentally, while the obesity rates have gone through the roof. See, for the first couple hundred years of American history, nobody was fat. It was very unusual. President Taft was unusual. Fatty Arbuckle was unusual. Most people, look at the old film clips. Everybody's looking pretty good. But yeah, big corporate food figured out how to just keep us wanting and wanting more, because that's the very essence of the capitalist system. To sell and to sell. Profit. Got to make profit. If you're selling food, well, then you got to sell more food. It's not that these are evil guys twisting their mustaches. They're just working within the system they've been given. And they've done it very, very well. We now have ultra-processed food in plastic, in boxes, in cans, and it's mostly what we eat. If you really, it takes so much effort to not eat like this. They filled our food with chemicals. They filled it with sugar, with salt, with literal appetite enhancers. The chemicals in this chip will make you want the next chip. Do they want to make you fat because they're evil and they're sitting up in their evil layers thinking, oh, we want more fat people? No, they want to make money, they don't care about what happens. They've been able to make food incredibly cheap over the last many decades, except for this last couple of years of inflation, which was very unusual because of the pandemic and the supply chain, and then the corporate price gouging that happened afterwards because they took advantage of the rebound. Of course there was going to be inflation. I'm getting off topic for a second. Of course there was going to be inflation coming out of the pandemic, because for a while there, they couldn't sell anything. And the supply chains were screwed up and production was down. And all of a sudden, when everybody wanted everything, now demand is big, and now, oh, okay, well, there's obviously going to be inflation. And when the corporations saw this, they said, oh, well, all right, we can take advantage of this, and we can just keep price gouging. Nobody's going to complain. We'll keep going, because that's what you do. You keep going until people stop buying. And there was such a frenzy. Anyway, back on the subject. And this happens with every single product, but when it happens with food, there's only one place it can go, either in your mouth or in the landfill, and both of them are at record highs. We're just eating and eating and eating because that's what they want. That's what they need in order to make their profits grow and grow and grow. And according to this ridiculous capitalist system we have, you have to have growth. And the Democrats think that, and the Republicans think that, and the libertarians think that. Everybody goddamn thinks that except me and you and a couple of other anarchists out there who say we have to have negative growth. But everybody else thinks we have to have positive growth. And the only way to have positive growth in the food industry is for people to keep eating. And that's what we've done, and we've gotten fat. It's really not that difficult. The other thing, and it's really not going out on a limb. This is easy stuff. I'm not a genius, It's not like I'm thinking this up. It's right there for all of us to see. And the second thing being, of course, the rise of consumer media, devices, social media, all of that crap. Now, when I was a kid, I'm of the generation where everybody was worried because I'd come home from school and sometimes lay on the couch and watch Gilligan's Island, right? Okay, television is going to make our kids lazy and fat. Well, it took a while. I kind of just dodged that bullet. For the most part, I watched Gilligan's Island when I was a kid. But for the most part, if I wasn't in school and it wasn't dark, most of the time I was outside. And all the other kids were too. We were outside and we were playing. We were running around. We were playing cops and robbers and playing baseball and football, and we were just out shooting baskets out on the driveway. We were out all the time running around. And kids these days... I know I sound like an old fart, but these are just facts. Now we've had an entire generation or two where it's not just the occasional, couch potato thing. It's an entire lifestyle. And it's devices and games just 24/7. Just go ahead and just take a little drive wherever you live. Drive around if it's a small town or the suburbs. If you live in a city, go around, drive and look at the parks. Find a kid. I don't remember the last time I saw a child. Where are they? They're not out. There are no kids outside. There's nobody outside. Again, go to your local tennis court. Go to your local park. Yeah, you got a couple old guys playing pickleball, maybe. We used to actually do things. We used to go bowling. We used to do things. We don't do anything. We're on our devices. We're watching movies. We're streaming these stupid goddamn television. Oh, they're not television shows. You can't call them that anymore. You know what I'm saying. These stupid goddamn series that everybody has to see and talk about. So, of course, we're fat. Why the hell wouldn't we be fat? We have no activity. And when I say we, of course, there are exceptions. You yourself, as you're listening, wait a minute now. I'm very active and I'm not fat. I'm thin. And by the way, you can't use the word fat. Okay, sorry, you're right. I won't. Okay, we're not obese. Yes. Of the many people listening right now, I don't know the number, I'm going to guess that half of you are perfectly fit. And yeah, maybe you do get some pretty good exercise. I'm not going to judge you. That's what Oprah's whole hour was about. Can't judge anybody. It's nobody's fault. It just is what it is. Can't judge anybody. And maybe these new drugs, hey, the Mounjaro and the Ozempic and all that, this new family of drugs that everybody's excited about. Well, the jury is still out on those, but Oprah came down mostly in favor. She did give sort of token voice to the downside, the possible downside, but mostly she was pretty up on it. Because Oprah's right in the middle of this whole capitalist problem. That's all she's ever been. She just sells things. And she takes advantage of people's most innate fears. And she exploits them and then sells things. So for a long time, she was selling weight loss ideas. And she recently parted ways with, she was with Weight Watchers, or one of them, I think. And now I don't know if she's officially hawking these new pharmaceuticals here, but she certainly is laying the groundwork for that. So yeah, pretty disgusting. Big food is just killing us. And it's not only the obesity, the additives are messing with our microbiome. But yeah, they're just making money hand over fist. And to add insult to injury, they're price gouging us coming out of the pandemic. Things should have settled by now just by regular rules of economics, which are dumb enough in and of themselves. But yeah, the CEOs kind of looked at the world the way it was. People coming out of the pandemic were desperate to spend. And our psychological lives are so screwed up, I bet we can get them to eat even more. Yeah, they're making plenty of money. Speaking of money, in a very much related topic here, total U.S. billionaire wealth. You want to guess over the last 4 years? And again, this is still the pandemic. COVID has just changed our lives in so many ways. 88%. 88% over the 4 years. And we're pretty much at the 4-year anniversary right now when it all hit the fan. Reading from inequality.org. 4 years ago, the United States entered the COVID-19 pandemic. Forbes published its 34th annual billionaire survey shortly after, with data keyed to March 18th, 2020. On that day, the United States had 614 billionaires who owned a combined wealth of $2.9 trillion. 4 years later, why am I laughing? On March 18th, 2024, the country has 737 billionaires, up from 614, with a combined wealth of $5.5 trillion, an 87.6% increase of $2.58 trillion. This according to the Institute for Policy Studies calculations of Forbes real-time billionaire data. Good Jesus God. In 4 years. They already had about 3 trillion, 614 billionaires 4 years ago. Now they've got 5.5 trillion. And there's 120 more billionaires in this country. Yeah, everything's fine. Everything's just fine. This world is working exactly the way it ought to work. Jeff Bezos. This is from a post from Robert Reich, the former labor secretary, who's kind of a busy guy on social media. Jeff Bezos made over $7.9 million an hour last year. In just 13 minutes, he made the equivalent of what a typical person earns in a lifetime. 4 years ago, this week, the Dow closed a little over 19,000. Currently trading, at least when I saw this posted, at almost 39,000. So more than doubled. The Dow more than doubled. So the people who own stocks, they're doing fine. The people who, and that's an old argument too. Well, to use that as a gauge for the health of the economy. So we're half of us are obese. Half of us live paycheck to paycheck, which is a statistic that hasn't changed in a while. See, we keep hearing from the Democrats in this election season how great the economy is. And based on the numbers, it is. The United States has the best economy in the world, and it's not even close. Our numbers are about twice as good as second place. Okay? We're just cleaning up. We're mopping the floor with Europe, with China, with everybody. But the problem is the distribution. Half of us are obese and living paycheck to paycheck, have zero savings, have no job security. We're screwed. And then the other half are kind of getting by, doing okay. And then the 1% have pretty much everything. So you wouldn't be surprised to learn then that, I love this because it comes out annually. It always gets headlines. And that's the ranking of the 20 happiest countries in the world. It's the World Happiness Report. Comes out every year. And the United States didn't even make the top 20 this year. Came in 23rd. 23rd. The ranking is based on 6 factors. Social support. All right, let's go through these. Let's go through these 6. Social support. How much social support does the average American have? If you're lucky, you got some family, you got some friends. But we just know from social research that half of us got nobody. Income. Well, like I just said, a lot of us working poor, many of us paycheck to paycheck, which is very stress-inducing. Others doing okay, but that whole American thing, even if you got plenty of income, you never feel like you do, and you feel like you need more. And why do you feel like you need more? Because there's $100 billion industry telling you that you need more all the time. It's all about money. It's always about money. All of this is about money all the time. Health. There you go. There again. Tens of millions of people without proper health care in this country. Even though we have, by many standards, the best health care, meaning we have lots of great doctors and lots of great hospitals. But the problem is not everybody has access to them. Again, it's not the overall number, it's the accessibility. You can't look at averages. You can't look at means. You got to look at individuals. Freedom. So social support, income, health, freedom. Freedom is a word that people love to use in campaign speeches. But how much freedom do you have? I tell you, if you're working 2 and 3 jobs just to kind of try to keep ahead, and if you're behinder every month, and if you're, delivering Uber Eats or driving a Lyft just to kind of make it, you have zero savings, and worse than zero savings, you're actually in debt, which again, most Americans are carrying a certain amount of debt, and some Americans are carrying a debilitating amount of debt. How free are you? How free are you? Freedom means the ability to make choices. You can just get up and move. You can just get up and find a new job and start life over. And come on, let's be real. Okay. 6 factors. Number 5 is generosity. Yeah, social support, income, health, freedom, generosity. That's actually where we're pretty good. I bet the U.S. scored high on that. We're generous people. We give to each other. And absence of corruption. Oy, oy, oy. Jeez, God. We can't have scored very high on that one. Using data from sources including the Gallup World Poll, released every year in honor of International Day of Happiness on March 20th. So, happy, everybody. Happy. And yet we ranked 23rd. That's not bad, I guess, considering. Well, we're out of time. Real quickly here, before I let you go, I did want to mention where we are in the elections, because The primaries, and even though they're meaningless, of course, we have our two candidates. We just had 5 of them: Arizona, Florida, Illinois, Kansas, and Ohio. And they're showing interesting trends because, I just wanted to mention, the Orange Menace continues to have very bad numbers relative to his position. And he's literally the only candidate. And Nikki Haley is still getting votes, sometimes up close to 20%. And there's still people in the exit polls saying Republicans now, voting in Republican primaries, telling exit pollsters, nope, not going to vote for the Orange Menace in November. Some of them say they'll vote for Joe. Some of them say they won't vote at all. I'm in Wisconsin, as you know. Our primary election early voting has already begun. It happens officially on April 2nd. And there's a movement to ask Wisconsinites to vote uninstructed delegation. That's what it's called on our ballot. So if you want to vote no to genocide on April 2nd, go to the polls, go to the primary, go to the Democratic primary, and there's a little oval there for you to fill in with your pencil. Uninstructed delegation is how you want to vote in the primary. Good news from this week's primary. Sherrod Brown has his opponent in Ohio for the Senate, and it's Bernie Moreno. He pronounces it Moreno, I think because he doesn't want to sound ethnic. Moreno sounds less ethnic than Moreno. I don't know. But he's the MAGA candidate, which is good news for everybody because there's a very good chance now, I would say an excellent chance, that Sherrod Brown is going to retain that seat in the Senate. And as you know, of course, we can't let the Republicans take the Senate. As far as other election news, I guess there's nothing too much to talk about. There was a lot of Orange Menace news. He said horrible things. He used the word bloodbath, and he's doing horrible things at the Republican National Committee, which now he runs. His daughter-in-law is the co-chair. He said wonderful things about the January 6th insurrectionists, called them heroes and promised to pardon them. And so there's all sorts of stuff on that front. And I guess we'll have to get to that another time. We'll get back into the Republicans versus the Democrats. And, I wish they'd both just go away. But there we are. Can't talk anymore because we're danged out of time. But, I love you. I do. And I wish you the best. And I invite you to go to the website, charlespurcell.com. That's where you'll find this and all the other podcast episodes. Thanks to our flagship terrestrial station, River West Radio, riverwestradio.com. Write to me, charlespurcell@gmail. Follow on Facebook. Thanks to Peter Donalds, who wrote and performed the theme song. Okay, that's the log. See ya.